Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. I have 3 more Christmas quilts here, and this is another edition of the Christmas quilt show and tell. So let me show you these. So the first quilt that I have here today, this is another example of a quilt that you can make with any fabric and it would go perfect. It's not specifically a Christmas quilt pattern, but it looks great in Christmas fabric, and also it looks great in any fabric. This is called the crosshatch quilt, and I made this quite a few years ago from a craftsy class. And that kind of tells you how old it is. Because Craftsy kind of ended, it turned into something else, but now I just double checked and it's back on as Craftsy, and you can still purchase the classes. So this was a class called Precut Shortcuts by Amy Smart. And if I can remember correctly, I had a layer cake of this Kate Spain collection. And I had a really good time making these. They were really easy. You make them a little bit larger and then you trim them down. So all the blocks turned out perfect, and I really enjoyed just putting this together. Really, I didn't even think about the end result. I just had a great time putting this quilt together, and it's a really cozy quilt. For the backing, I use this pretty Kate Spain print, and that was one of the prints in this collection too. So I really enjoyed making this. It's just a small throw, but it's perfect just to have on the couch and have out at Christmas. Now this next quilt is called Pining for Christmas. The design is by Wendy Shepherd, and she often goes by the name of Ivory Spring. That's what her Etsy shop is. This was originally in a magazine, and then since then she's written the pattern and she has it in her Etsy shop. And I used a Liberty Fabrics Christmas collection to make this. I really enjoyed putting together each tree, kind of deciding what fabrics to use. And I mean, for me, typically, I didn't used to use a lot of blues with my Christmas, but I put it in this quilt because that's what this bundle had, and I really like it. This quilt I will forever remember because it just, to me, reminds me of how much my quilting skills have grown. When I first made this quilt, it was in the beginning of my quilting journey, and these Ohio stars at the top of the trees were so hard for me to make. Each piece in that finishes at 1 inch, and I remember thinking, like, how on earth does someone piece this accurately? And I struggled every time. And I believe I even reached out to Wendy on Instagram and I was like, how do you put these together? I just cannot get my stars to be perfect. And now I would not think twice about piecing a Ohio star with 1 inch pieces. It would be second nature to me. It's a good reminder to me, and I hope it's a good reminder to you, that when we're starting out or when we're piecing something different than we're used to, there's always going to be struggles. And everyone has felt those struggles at some point in their quilting journey. Like I said, I would not think twice about piecing that star now. It would be lickety split, easy for me. But this quilt reminds me that it wasn't always that way. Another thing I did in this quilt, which was kind of like the beginning of me exploring this, was using different prints for my background. So there's a ton of different prints. You can clearly see these because they're a little bit more standouty than the rest. But there's at least 5 different background prints here in this quilt. And I really enjoyed that. That was the beginning of exploring things other than solid white backgrounds. So I really enjoyed that. And the other thing I see when I think of this quilt is you can see the quilting design a little bit. It's a free motion, kind of like an orange peel. And I did this myself and I hated it. I thought I did such a terrible job. Like, after I finished it, I was like, oh my God, I just ruined this whole quilt. But it's grown on me since then. And again, it's another reminder about how skills grow over time. And really, once it's been washed and dried and it's crinkled, it doesn't look that bad. So I'm able to use this quilt now without any reservation or any hard feelings. But in the beginning, this quilt really, really pushed my skills. And I'm glad that I made it. It is a beautiful quilt pattern, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. Now let's do the third quilt. Now this batch of quilt is really going back into my quilty history. So they're all old ones that I made at the beginning of my quilting journey. And this one here, I believe it's called Patchwork Forest. It's an improv pieced tree block. This pattern is by Amy Smart. And really, I mean, these were so freeing to make. You don't use any kind of template or anything. It's just you stack a bunch, you improv cut the tree, and then you put them back together. And it was fantastic. And all these prints, at the time I made this, these prints all came from cotton and steel. The designers who designed these prints, quite a few years ago, stopped working for cotton and steel, and they now have their own design company under the branch of Moda called Ruby Star Society. So you can find a lot of these as reprints under the Ruby Star Society brand. I love how bright and fun all of these prints are. Not even all of them are specifically Christmas prints, but most of them are. And they just work so nicely together. Right after I made this quilt, I remember thinking, I'm definitely gonna wanna make more of these. And then I went and I bought more fat quarters of each of the prints in here, and I still have those saved away. So I will one day grab out those original cotton and steel prints and make another quilt with them. I'm not sure if it'll be this one or something else, but I loved making this. And I've made this pattern multiple times. And it's fun every single time because of the improv aspect. It doesn't get tired or boring. It's really fantastic. The backing here is an ornament print from one of the cotton and steel collections. And this quilt is one of my favorite Christmas quilts. I look forward to putting it out every single year. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed looking at these 3 Christmas quilts with me. I will link to all the patterns below. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll see you back here soon. Thanks for following along.